So when we're building a common rail engine, 03 plus Cummins common rail, there's some essential things you need to do if you're planning on having it hold head gaskets. First of all, you need to have the surface finish correct for an MLS gasket. And the way I achieve that with the engine in the truck is using precision flat stones. But let's backtrack a little bit. When we're running head studs, in this case we're going to be running some Hazley Machine L19s, you need to bottom tap every head bolt hole, because from the factory these Cummins engines the head bolt holes aren't fully tapped all the way down to the bottom. What you achieve by doing that is you get more thread engagement, and the stud grabs a more meaty part of the block. And when you bottom tap these blocks, it reduces the amount of upper cylinder distortion when you torque the head studs. Now, if you guys aren't wanting to buy ARP 625s, I highly recommend just getting Hazley Machine L19s. They're almost the same strength and damn near half the price. But this tap right here is not just a regular tap, it's called a bottoming tap. So right there we've reached the last part of the threads, but we can keep going. Right there it's cutting. See how it's cutting there? It's just a little slow process. I like to tape off the decks of my blocks so I don't get any of these shavings in the oil feed passages or anything like that. And then you just go a little bit at a time. I put a little ATF fluid in each hole. And then when I'm done, I'll triple check every hole that it's clean and dry. I vacuum them out, I blow them out. And then I move on to removing these dowels out of the block. But I tap the ID of these dowels to an M14 1.5 thread. I'll put a 14 millimeter bolt into that dowel, and I'll pry it out of the block with a pry bar. That way I can use my precision flat stones right here, and I can completely get the deck square, flat, and the correct smoothness of the surface for the MLS gasket to hold up. Now this engine, it's going to be a S468 stainless diesel 5-blade, 100% over DDP injectors, stock bottom end, stock cam, stage 1 D&J ported head, which flows about 200 CFM or so, 25% more than stock. D&J Precision Machine is the best in the business. This is going to be probably, capable of 750, 850, depending on, how we set it up. Firepunk's doing the tuning via HP tuners. In my opinion, Firepunk Diesel are the guys to go to if you have a third gen Cummins. They are the third gen guys. There's nobody in the world that has the third gen platform down better than Firepunk Diesel. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of copycats and duplicators, but Firepunk has that shit nailed down, especially the tuning. So sometimes I'll feel a little bit more resistance than I'm used to, and I'll take the tap out of the block and then get the shavings out of the block. The last thing you want to do is break off one of these taps in the block, because they are hard, and you better not even think about drilling one of them out if you break it. Yeah, so that hole is done. We went down about another 3/8 of an inch deeper, which on a 24 valve truck, it doesn't affect like the height of the stud. Like, there's still plenty of engagement up top for the nut and washer to grab onto. They end up being just flush with each other, instead of just being proud of the nut like it regular like would be if you don't bottom tap the block. See, this one's cutting pretty good. Yep. And if you guys say that's not a thing, that these cylinders don't distort when you torque these head bolts, you're sadly mistaken. And that as you go to a stronger stud like an L19 that has 250,000 PSI tensile strength, they're not ARP 2000s. These are actually really good studs. So we're going to be torquing them to 160 foot-pounds. And when you elevate the stud torque like that, and you start getting up past 150, it really will distort the top of the cylinders in a little bit. Which what happens when that happens? You don't get as good of ring seal up top when the piston's coming up. How much does it affect performance? I don't know. I just know it's a thing. So I have the front cover off because we're doing a front main seal, and I like to come in here and torque all these bolts to 25 foot-pounds. Every one of the bolts that I could get to behind the timing cover, they all moved a good 90 degrees. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys on the next step.